lot of people ask this question: how do I convert from a single pot master cylinder for my C10 truck to a dual pot master cylinder? So this explanation is for drum brakes. However, if you convert from drum to disc front and rear drum, it is going to be very similar. This is a 1963 truck. It had a single pot master cylinder. That's what it looked like. It was kind of rectangular. I put a 1969 dual master cylinder for a C10 truck in its place. Then there are two lines coming out. This is the rear brake line, and this is the front brake line. You'll notice that this line is 3/16, this line is 1/4 inch. The original master cylinder had 1/4 inch hard line tubing coming off the bottom. Let's continue. The reason to convert to a dual pot master cylinder is that if you had failure of a hose or a hard line on either the front or the rear circuit, then you would lose pressure in all four wheels at the same time in a single pot setup. In a dual pot setup, you have two circuits, and it is very unlikely that you would lose pressure in both the front and the rear circuit at the same time. You might lose the rear brakes if a hose broke, but at least you'd have your front brakes, or vice versa. So I chose a 1969 dual pot master cylinder for a C10 truck because it's set up for drum. The rear brake line comes here, it's 3/16. The 1/4 inch line at the back is for the front brakes. Now, it's a direct bolt on to the firewall, but the bolt location is different. You'll notice this one has a high on the right and a low on the left bolt hole. Well, those bolt holes exist on here, but you're going to change. These are at the 3 and 9 o'clock position, but they'll bolt right up. Make sure you use the long bolt through the master cylinder as it bolts to the firewall. This is totally optional, but on mine I ran the rear line through a brake bias that is adjustable. I can turn this dial and increase or decrease the amount of pressure that goes to the rear tires, and since pickup trucks are lighter on the back, I chose to do that to help avoid locking the rear tires up before the front tires would lock up. Totally optional. If you are converting a 1963 original master cylinder, the part that sticks in through the firewall is longer than a 64 through 1972, and so therefore this push rod inside the cab from the brake pedal to the plunger in the master cylinder, you're going to have to lengthen it or get one from a 1964 through 1972. It's not that difficult. It's a push rod. Just make sure you do a good quality weld on the end if you lengthen it, or just replace it with another one. But the 1963 push rod will not work well with this master cylinder because the 63 push rod is too short. Let's get down to what actually has been done. So I bolted the 1969 master cylinder to the firewall after I bench bled the plunger and ports. That you do on the bench to get all air out of the master cylinder. Then I put all new nickel copper hard line, and you might think that I'm a real expert at bending, but no. I just used my imagination. I brought the front part, which is the rear brake line, back and towards the firewall over here, and then straight down towards the frame rail. I'll show that in a little more detail. The rear port is actually the front brakes, and I brought that forward and then down towards the frame rail. So there are the lines, pretty clear. This is going to the front brakes, and this one's going to the rear brakes. 3/16 inch to the rear brakes, 1/4 inch line to the front brakes. It comes right around the, it comes straight down to the frame rail and then makes a right angle twice to go just on the inside of the frame rail. Keep it away from your downpipe for your muffler. In a V8, the muffler is going to be a little closer to the frame rail. Just keep that in mind. All right, now I'm going to put this truck up on the lift and go through where the lines go underneath the truck. Okay, here we are. The truck is up in the air. This is a 1963 pickup. I'm showing you the brake lines when I converted to dual master cylinder. So this is the driver's side frame rail at the front wheel. This larger line is coming off of the rear port of the dual master cylinder. It is 1/4 inch line and it comes down to a brass junction block. It has a hard line that goes to the left front wheel, and it has another hard line that goes to the right front wheel. Now in the original 63 through 66 setup, probably the earlier versions too, there was a junction block right here. That junction block would allow a 3/16 inch line to join in and then run up here and down the frame rail to the rear wheels. Well, I've eliminated that because it's a dual system now. So this line is dedicated for the front wheels. The 1/4 inch line goes to the hose over here. I saw no reason to keep the junction block. This is all new line. If you keep the junction block, what you do is you remove the 3/16 inch line and plug it with a brass plug, eliminating that port opening. Then you'll have a 3/16 inch line hanging down here, dripping a little brake fluid that goes to your rear wheels. And now you'll hook that up. You bring a 3/16 inch line down from your master cylinder front port. That comes along here and will join to that other piece with a union. You can get a solid single union that will join the two. In this case, I used all new brake lines, so there was no reason to put a joint there. But if you are continuing to use your original brake lines, you'd have to use a joint there to join the two. So I used one solid line that goes all the way to the back. So we're going to follow that rear brake line all along the passenger side frame rail until it gets to here, where there's a flexible hose that comes down to the rear axle. From a different angle, there's that rear flexible line coming down to the rear axle, and there's a bracket on the back of the axle that houses the junction for that. There's a port or a hole here for the hard line that goes to the right rear wheel. Give you a peek inside here. That's where it comes through, goes out that hole. And then here, that one goes over to the driver's side wheel. So that's the setup. You can easily convert to dual master cylinder. It's a lot safer in case you were to have a hose rupture. Of course, your brakes are your most important thing in your truck. Be safe out there. Make sure your brakes are well maintained and your rubber hoses are not rotten and ready to pop. Be safe.